Hello guys, it is Gomi here, and today our grand topic is becoming yourself. And I always like telling the little backstory of why I make these videos, but I am making this video because I think only in the past year or two I've really become myself. Like, I remember when I was a little kid, I was very authentic and true to myself. And mind you, I was homeschooled when I was little. Like, I went to kindergarten in person, but kindergarten is kindergarten. But like for first, second, and the first half of third grade, I was homeschooled. So I was very true to myself. But then, when you get into a social setting and have a ton of social influences thrown at you, you kind of get thrown off guard. And I was bullied a lot, unfortunately. So I became very insecure at an early age. And I got bullied even more later on. So eventually I started to lose myself. And I think when COVID hit, I fully lost myself. Because I remember during my freshman year, after being bullied a lot and going through a lot of hard times like homelessness and poverty, I just hit rock bottom and I didn't really know who to be. I didn't know who I was. I was going through so much. I started developing mental health issues and I was beyond lost. So I remember losing tons of weight to fit in with people. I remember hiding my interests, altering the way I dressed just to get some sort of validation and fit in somewhere because I felt so lost. So then when COVID hit, I remember I had like a whole identity crisis because, I was so insecure and I became so lost within myself and I was going through so much and I was struggling mentally, so I just didn't know who I was. And since I was at home all the time due to COVID, I had no choice but to start focusing in on myself and trying to learn and figure out who I was. And for a while, even then, I was still very lost. And then by the time I was, 17, 18, I started figuring out, what I wanted to do and started expressing myself more. And now I'm 19. I feel like more of myself than ever, though I do feel like I can still improve a lot as a person. But besides improvements, I express myself more. I'm very true to my interests and the type of person I am. I'm very vocal with my thoughts at times, so people can understand where I'm coming from and can understand the type of person I am. So I feel like I'm starting to figure out who I am as a person, but being lost as a person I think is very hard. And I feel like in this day and age, with so many trends coming in and out of store, and so many aesthetics that have personalities connected to them, or just, kids in school being so judgmental, as a youthful person, it's just hard to find yourself and be yourself. And even if you're not youthful, even if you're older, working or in college or such, you can still be very lost within yourself. So no matter how old or young you are, I feel like this video can reach out to you because, it's never too late to start finding yourself. And no matter what age you are, sometimes you can be lost. So we're going to talk about becoming yourself because it was quite a journey for me. And after 19 grand years, I feel like me. Not fully, because once I have the coolest wardrobe ever, I will finally feel like I've unlocked the true Gomi. But anyways, on to my grand tips. Today I planned the video in this little journal. You can see how crazy my handwriting is, especially this right here. This says people. It literally says people. And I don't even know how to write in cursive, but when I write my words, I tend to not lift whatever my writing utensil. So all my words are connected, but I don't know a hint of cursive. Anyways, that's off topic. I need to stop myself before I start rambling. Anyways, so let's get on to it. So the first way to start becoming yourself is realizing that not everyone's going to like you. And I feel like this is something that is kind of a hard pill to swallow for certain people, especially if you are a people pleaser. And I remember I used to be the biggest people pleaser ever. Like, it was insane. And I remember, like, I would be so, like, mentally distraught if someone did not like me. Like, I remember this one girl said that I was too bubbly. I was too bubbly. So she disliked me. So when I was around her, I would go dead silent and be calm. And then she started to like me, but that was outside of my character. So to please this girl, I'd always, put my whole identity and self away just to please her. And yeah, eventually I just realized I can't please everyone. Like, some people dislike certain people, and some people like certain people. It's as simple as that. So, yeah. And if you think about it, there are some people that you absolutely dislike, and then there's people you absolutely adore. And that's just how we are as people. And I started to realize this when I would observe people and notice that, like, everyone's drawn to different people. And even I'm drawn to different people, and not everyone's going to be drawn to you. But if you're yourself, you're going to bring people who like you for you. And you're not going to attract people who dislike you for you. People who do not care for the type of person you are, in most cases, are going to stray away from you. So just be yourself, People who are going to appreciate you and love you are going to come your way. So don't try and become someone you're not to attract people who will not love the true you. That, I think, is one of the biggest tips I learned. Because I know, like, ever since I started becoming myself, I've attracted a lot of people who are similar to me and that I click with, like, down to a T. Like, we just get along. Because, I'm just myself, and they appreciate the authenticity, and they can see who I truly am and connect with the type of person I am, because it's a person that they would likely associate themselves with. So, yeah. The next thing is realize that this is your only life. Now, depending on your religious beliefs, this may not be your only life. Personally, I believe in reincarnation, but I do believe that we come back as different people, so to not waste this life as yourself, experience it to the fullest before you come back as a new person, different experiences and such. But my beliefs aside, if we're all just thinking on the same page, this is our one life as ourselves, with the people we have in our lives and the place we live in and such. This is our only life. And you don't want to waste your life away being somebody you're not, or being in denial of who you are, or absolutely hating yourself. I feel like that's a waste of our precious time, because time is something that you can never get back. So, you can blow all your money, and you'll get money back one way or another. Or you can lose all your friends, but you can always go make new ones. But time, you can never get back time. So I just realized one day that, if I continue to pretend to be someone I'm not, or hate myself for the person I am wasting my time. And it's better to become myself now rather than never become myself. And I realized that once I became myself, I was much happier. And I think one of my number one goals in life is to be happy. So I am very glad that I'm applying my time wisely and choosing to follow my morals. So, just apply your time. So just think. And I think, and also this way of thinking that I personally use, which is a little dark, but I think is useful, is to think that, life is not guaranteed. So you could die tomorrow. And that's dark, but it's true. Accidents happen. People can get very ill all of a sudden, tragedies and other things. So I realized that, if I were to pass on tomorrow, would I have been happy with myself and the way I am proceeding with things now? And if I say no, I evaluate what I need to change. So, I would think to myself, if I were to die today, would I be happy with the person I am now? And back when I wasn't myself, I was not happy with the person I was. So I eventually became more of myself and became more accepting of myself because I want to pass on, one, happy, and two, myself. I don't want to pass away being someone I was not and being remembered for a person that I was never truly. So I think it's very important to realize that life is precious, time is precious, and being you is one of the best things you can offer. Anyways, on to the next tip. The next one is to be vulnerable. I think when becoming yourself, you have to be vulnerable. I had to stop recording, guys, because my brother is making noise in the hallway. So we'll get back to programming in a second. Next, we need to learn how to be vulnerable. I think the reason why we need to learn how to be vulnerable when learning to be ourselves and becoming ourselves is because when you are yourself, you receive the most pure criticism. But, I'm starting to forget what the heck I was talking about. So the reason why I say you need to be vulnerable is because you begin to receive the purest form of criticism or hatred. So, when you're no longer putting up a facade, people are criticizing you for you. If you're pretending to be somebody you're not, when they criticize you, they're not truly criticizing you, they're criticizing this character you made to present to them. So, when people used to, talk junk about me, yeah, it would hurt, but I wasn't truly myself, so it wouldn't truly impact me. But, nowadays, if someone were to say something about me, and I am truly being myself, it would hurt. It hurts a lot more. People these days have been criticizing, the way I go about things, the things I do, the way I am, and it hurts a lot more, but I am accepting the vulnerability I'm putting out there because, I have to accept the fact that, not everyone's going to be pleased with the way I go about things, pleased with the way I present myself, the way I think, this, that, and the other. So, I'm allowing myself to be vulnerable in that sense. Allowing hatred and such to come my way, even if I don't want it to. And I think, a lot of people are too scared to be vulnerable because, vulnerability hurts, having to face the backlash of, your emotions or the way you are. But I think, it's better to be criticized and disliked being yourself rather than being hated for something you aren't even truly. Next up, you need to start venturing. And what I mean by venturing is doing new things, meeting new people, getting outside your comfort zone, and, just testing things out, doing things that you never thought you would do. And the reason why I say this is because I think sometimes we think we know ourselves, but we do not truly know ourselves unless we are going through new and different things all the time. Because different scenarios, different people, new things can bring different things out. So, every time I leave the house, I will speak to someone. And, maybe it'll be a short chat or maybe it'll be a full-blown conversation. And interacting with different types of people, just teach you a lot about yourself. I tried making, more friends this year. And I met a lot of different people. A lot of them I don't talk to nowadays. But the ones that I still do talk to have really brought new sides of me out. So, just meeting new people and putting yourself out there will do you wonders. And then, getting into new experiences. I started doing stagehand. I mentioned it in a few videos already. And it's basically just setting up events and such, whether it's for artists or, campaigns or anything. But, I did that, and that was a very new experience. And, I learned about myself. Like, one, I'm very physically weak. I'm very weak, but I am, a very teamsy person. I like helping people out because anytime I saw somebody who looked like they needed help, I would immediately help them. But then I also realized that I'm very shy. And I already knew that to an extent, but like, I was very scared to meet the new people around me, so I kind of stuck by people that I was familiar with or felt comfortable with. Like, I'm timid. I'm pretty sure timid and shy are like synonyms, but for some reason I feel like timid is a slightly better word. But just doing things that I never thought I would do just teach you a lot more about yourself and help you understand what you like and dislike. I personally liked doing stagehand. It's probably not something that I see myself doing long term. But yeah. And also, I took a huge step starting YouTube. I really like YouTube. I like talking about my experiences, trying to help people, talking about mental health. And I think it just helps me realize, what I want to do in life or where I want to go, and teaches me a lot of things. And then also, you should definitely go to new places. I know in the future I want to move states. I've lived in the very boring state of South Carolina my entire life, and I barely traveled too. I've been to Georgia, Florida, and North Carolina. I feel like there was a fourth state, but I genuinely cannot remember. But yeah, I've only really been to 3 states. Never been out of country, and I know that there are so many opportunities and new things that you can experience in different places. In South Carolina, if you live here, there's not a lot to do. So, it's a very restricting place, and I just know that on my journey of finding myself, being in a different place that's, more open and adventurous would be good for me. So, I would totally recommend going to new places and doing new things. Now, my next tip is to have no shame. I feel like when you're trying to become yourself, you need to start acting shamelessly, because when you have shame, you start to hold yourself back. I remember in my freshman year, I liked colored hair. My hair is currently purple. My lighting isn't too good. Give me a second. It's purple. I personally love it, but I remember, during my freshman year, I had colored hair, but, students tend to compare me to, rappers. I don't know why I'm kind of stumbling over my words. I think it's because, this is, a bit of a sensitive topic for me, because my freshman year was a hard time. But, I remember during my freshman year, students would compare me to rappers, especially male rappers, and that always rubbed me the wrong way because I always felt like a bit not feminine growing up. So to be compared to male rappers did not make it better. But I remember, with my dyed hair, people would compare me to rappers like X and other rappers that I can't recall the name of. It made me feel very shameful, trying to express myself and be different. And then when I started expressing myself with my style, as of this year, I know one of my family members, they would call me and they'd be like, oh my gosh, what are you wearing? Because, they saw some of my social media platforms, would criticize the way I dressed and the way I presented myself, and they'd call me, every name in the dang book. Luckily, I'm a nice person, so I'm not going to call them out and say who they are, but if you're watching this, you know who you are. And, it did make me question, is my style too out there? Is it too crazy? But, I have had many moments where, I've, questioned myself and started feeling shame or doubt or almost regret, I regretted being myself for a moment. But to truly become yourself, you need to be shameless, because you should not be ashamed for being who you are. Who you are is unique and different, and there's going to be so many people that you encounter who are similar to you. You're still unique, but there's so many people who are like you. And you need to realize that you're not alone, even if you feel super wacky and different and like an oddball. Because I know I felt like an oddball, especially as a black person. And the reason why I say that is because growing up, I used to be told that, I talked white or I acted white, and it would make me feel like weird. I felt very ashamed for who I was for a long time, or like I was really into like academics and such, and it just made me get scrutinized, and it just sucked. And then like I was into like nerdy things like anime and K-pop, and I had a huge Vocaloid phase. I still like Vocaloid till this day. And lately I've been into VKai, but I have what some people say are non-black interests, or like white people interests, and realistically, no interest is assigned to a certain race, but people say just really things. I can't find a word, but Anyways, yeah, so I realized that like my interests to me are very unique and different, but then there's also millions of people out there who like the same things I like. So I stopped feeling so ashamed because I knew that there was others like me, and also the things I like are the things I like, and I'm not gonna stop liking them just because somebody else is judging me. Maybe somebody likes something that I can never find myself loving. Like Drake. I don't hate Drake, but you can't see me getting down to Drake. But I do not judge others who love Drake. So, yeah, have no shame, guys. Shame holds you back a lot. And I would know, I would constantly try and alter myself to fit in and be accepted. And at the end of the day, I realized that, like, there's nothing to be ashamed of. And you should realize that too. Then my next tip is to not live in the past. And the reason why I say this is because I feel like we are ever changing, much like trees. Trees change season by season, and they are still the tree they are, but they're not constantly the same. One season they may have flowers on them, the next season the flowers are gone, then the next season the leaves are gone, and then the leaves are back. It's a whole cycle, but at the end of the day, the tree is still the tree, and we are basically trees. So, we are constantly changing. You're not the same person you were when you were 5 years old. You're not the same person you were when you were 10. Depending on your age, you may not be the same person you are when you turn 20. I turn 20 next year, and I hope that I change a lot because I feel like change is good. But, if you're living in the past and you are comparing yourself to who you were in the past when you're trying to become yourself, you're not going to get anywhere. These days I struggle a lot mentally, so I have a tendency to try and compare myself to who I was when I was a kid. I was very happy and free-spirited as a kid. I'm still free-spirited, but not as happy, unfortunately. And I'll constantly think to myself, I wish I were still a child. I wish I were still happy and careless like I used to be. But, I think that me as a child, I do not have the experiences I have now. I've experienced so much. So of course I changed. And I still have the possibility to change. I still have the opportunity to change in the future as I keep going. And I can choose to change for the better or change for the worse. But, if you're living in the past, you're not going to become yourself because the person you were in the past is a different version of you. So you should strive to become the new version of yourself rather than looking back at someone who's in the mirror. So, yeah. I remember when I was 14, I was very, very, very low. And, if I were to continuously compare myself to when I was at that stage in life, I wouldn't progress because I was not in a good place. Anyways, that's besides the point. So, you need to realize that we're constantly moving forward, and time's not going to stop. So, living in the past is not going to do you any good, especially if you're trying to become a better person or learn to be yourself or trying to find yourself. You need to move forward. Life's going to keep going. You need to keep going. and realize that, you know, you can be the best version of yourself if you try, but you cannot hold yourself back. And living in the past is going to hold yourself back. But, anyways, about to close off this video because I've been recording for nearly 30 minutes. The editing process is going to be a doozy. But I'm very glad to get this message out because I'm very happy that I am more of myself these days, and I hope that everyone can learn to be themselves and love themselves. Anyways, this is Gomi signing out. Also, don't forget to subscribe and check me out on my socials, which are in the description. Bye guys!